Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about Unit 3, Lesson 2, Adaptation and Diversity of Living Organisms. Adaptation is a modification of living organisms' behavior, structure, or function to become adapted to environmental conditions. The types of adaptation: the first type is called structural adaptation or anatomical adaptation, like the camel's pad, which enabled the camel wandering or walking through the hot desert sand, and the horse's hoof, which is strong and solid, which enables the horse to go through the rocky soil. The second type is functional adaptation, like the secreting poison in secreting the poison in snakes, and the secreting sweat in human in case of high temperature. The behavioral adaptation, like the bird's migration, it's a modification in behavior, like the bird's migration, and the activity of birds during the daylight and bat at night. The activity of bat is at night. The reasons of adaptation: to move in different environment, to get food, and to escape from enemies. The first type of adaptation is adaptation and motion in mammals. The adaptation and motion in mammals, we will talk about it. First, like the whales, dolphins, and sea lions, the modification in their front limbs. The front limbs are modified into paddles for swimming. The forelimbs are adapted into wings, like in the bats, for flying. And in horse, the front limbs are adapted into legs for running. In gorilla and monkeys, long arms or the front limbs are modified into long arms for climbing and catching things. Secondly, adaptation and nature of food. The adaptation and the nature of food. Birds adapt to environment and the way of having food by modification in two things: in beaks and legs. So birds are adapted to get food by modification in beaks and legs. First, predatory birds. Predatory birds like vultures and hawks, they have sharp, strong, crooked beaks. The beaks of them are sharp, strong, crooked. Give reason the vultures and hawks have sharp, strong, and crooked beaks to tear the prey or to cut the prey. In legs بقى, there are three front fingers and one back, and in strong and sharp claws. مخالب عندهم claws. Fingers are bendable. The fingers are bendable, can be bent. Give reason to control pouncing the prey. So give reason the fingers are bendable to control the pouncing the prey. The second type of birds feed on worms and snails. Birds feed on worms and snails, like heron and hoopoe. They have long and thin beaks. Give reason they have long and thin beaks to pick up the worms and snail. And they have long and thin legs and in thin fingers. Also give reason to walk in the water. Give reason heron and hoopoe have long and thin legs and in thin fingers to walk in the water. The third type of birds, water birds. Water birds like ducks and geese feed on fish and mosses. Mosses is a type of plants. They have wide indented beaks. This shape is called indented مسنن. Give reason they have wide indented beaks to filter the food from water. And they have palm legs. This shape is called palm legs. Give reason they have palm legs for swimming. The third is adaptation in insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants, they are self-feeding green plants that their roots cannot absorb the nitrogenous substances from the soil needed to make proteins. They have problems for absorption of nitrogenous substances. They can't absorb the nitrogenous substances from the soil. So they compensate this by digestion of insects like Drosera, Dionaea, and Halophila. They are insectivorous plants. They feed on insects. They are self-feeding plants, do or perform photosynthesis like all plants, make carbohydrates or make their own food, but the problem is the nitrogenous absorption of nitrogenous substances. They cannot absorb the nitrogenous substances from the soil, so they absorb nitrogenous substances from insects to perform the proteins. And here is the mechanism of Dionaea. Okay, it's the mechanism of Dionaea. And the Drosera also. This is the mechanism of Drosera. How is it feed on the insect? The insect sticks on it. الحشرة نفسها بتلزق عليها، وفي poisonous substance بتوقف الانسكت خلاص عن الحركة وبتبدأ تقفل عليها. And this is structural adaptation. This is called structural adaptation. Thank you for listening. Good morning, everyone. This video is the second part of adaptation. I will talk about adaptation and environment change.